Hello everybody, thank you very, very much for inviting me and allowing me to take part in this. If you guys can't hear me, please let me know. So my name is Shanna Goldberg. She knows me as Shanna Indig Goldberg because my maiden name is Indig. I am a stroke survivor myself. I'm just going to give you a little bit about my past as well as where I am right now and my goals for the future. My idea here is just to make people aware of situations such as where I've been, what I've done, and you know, so that if it ever comes to light to somebody you do know, what you can do to avoid situations such as this, and maybe to give some people some determination for themselves, as well as if you're a caregiver, some people need some assistance as well. So now I graduated from university in 2004. I was healthy as you could be. I graduated and bought a condo all by myself, lived in Mississauga. My mom was a single mom and she was all about this. She said, "Oh, I have this independent daughter. I'm so proud of her." And within a year and a half, I woke up one morning and everything felt a little bit off. Took a shower, my left hand in my hair just felt off, like something was numb. Got out of the shower, walked into a wall, which I thought, wow, that's probably not good. Called 911. First I called my boyfriend because, you know, something felt off, and he said, you know, if you feel that off, maybe you should, well, I'm on my way, but I'm in Richmond Hill, so if something is off and you're not so sure, then call 911, and whoever gets there first is better. So I called 911, and the first thing they ask is, what's your name? Well, that came, no problem. Where do you live? No problem. How old are you? No problem. But when I tried to say telephone, the word card came. Some of the words were slurred. I wasn't able to describe anything I wanted to say. And the first thing I said to the paramedic on the phone was, am I having a stroke? At 25 years old, should I know what a stroke is? How do I know it? The Heart and Stroke Foundation commercials. So the first thing she says to me on the phone was, look at yourself in the mirror and smile. Do you see anything different? No. Well, then it's probably not a stroke, but we'll wait for the paramedics. So they come in, really loud and boisterous, and I'm already nervous as it is. They check my blood pressure, they do an ECG check, and they came back with, well, it's 150 over 100, you're okay. Well, when you're 25 and pretty healthy, 150 over 100 is a little bit high. So at that point, my boyfriend got there. We got into an ambulance to a hospital, which I'm not sure if I'm allowed to share, but I should share. Trillium Hospital. I sat in the waiting room for many hours, put into another waiting room that was absolutely freezing for hours. They did blood work, and I told them, put it on the left side because I can't feel it anyway, and I'm terrified of needles. They asked me a bunch of other questions that were very, you know, like, do you take drugs? Are you drugged now? Are you suicidal? Are you, all of the questions of a young, healthy woman who walks in slurred, they assume. Blood work comes back normal. They do a CT and do not do an MRI because OHIP only covers a specific amount of, they do kind of like a checklist. And in that checklist, my symptoms do not necessarily fall into the MRI category. So they sent me home and explained to me that I was mentally unstable. You can go home. So my boyfriend at the time, poor guy, probably thinking, oh geez, she's getting, she's mentally unstable. I can't walk straight for the life of me. I can't even put my earrings back in my ears. I get back home, drooling, still can't get into a shower, and 48 hours later, I'm no longer in my own condo. I'm at my boyfriend's family's house. The clot had lodged. The headache was just unbearable. I went to bed that night. In the middle of the night, I must have woken up and gone into the office where my boyfriend was sleeping and said, I need to lie down with you, something's not right. 5 o'clock in the morning, I was paralyzed on the left. So the long and short of it is this. I'll tell you a little bit more, but just one point to give you is believe in your own body, know your own self, and believe in yourself. Because if you don't, nobody else is your own advocate but your own. Your family may believe in you when 2 or 3 doctors look at you and say, your family member or your friend is mentally unstable. Who do you believe at the end of the day? You're not so sure. You know, maybe there's something wrong, but does she need to be in the hospital? I'm not so sure. So anyway, long story short, at that point we called 911, firemen's chair to get me down the stairs, rushed into another hospital, there for 2.5 months. Once they had done the MRI, when I walked in, the first doctor said to me, first things first, we would like to apologize on behalf of the physicians. It shouldn't have happened, and you have had a massive stroke. It affected 3 out of 4 lobes. So I went from being fully paralyzed on the left, so in a wheelchair, learning how to transfer those kind of things, and then moved over into a cane after the 2.5 months. And I was able to do rehab at Toronto Rehab Institute for 6 months after that. I still walk with a limp, but that's, I think, the least of my concerns at the end of the day. I am left-handed. This affected the left-hand side of my body, so writing takes a little bit longer, but as my husband says, you never had nice writing to begin with. As long as you're able to write, we're good, and it's true. When we fill out forms, he says, I'll do it so that people can actually read it. I mean, for what it's worth, it's not going to matter. I mean, as long as you know that you have the ability to write, color, read, all those fun things, nothing else will truly matter. So a couple years go by, we got married, my husband and I, and then my miracle came, my baby Aiden over there. He's 4.5 and fully healthy and does not have the same syndrome that I have. I have a syndrome called antiphospholipid antibody syndrome, or anticardiolipin antibody syndrome, which is a nice and fancy way of saying my blood loves to clot. And I had no way of knowing it until I had the stroke. Didn't help that I was on birth control like every other teenager and was a casual smoker, so 3 strikes and you're out. It turns out that I have many friends that have very similar syndromes, are also on birth control, and are still smoking. Duh. This should have been enough of a hint. They see it from their own family, their own life, but to each their own. You make your own decisions at the end of the day. So now, a bunch of years later, it's been 7 years. Like I said, residual effects are walking with a limp. I work full time. I got my license back, and I will tell you, getting your license back when they take it away is hard work. They make you do a bunch of tests for, being vision tests in the hospital and all that stuff. But at the end, they did give it all back. I'm pregnant with another. I'm 5 months pregnant. It took 4 years to decide whether or not we were going to do it again. We have a very, very busy boy, but if I can do it, anyone can do it. So the same, last thing, I mean, Melanie already said this, but we started a Young Stroke Survivors group in 2007 or 8. I founded it, and I was the president of it, and it grew. It was Peel Halton Young Stroke Survivors Group. Now it's still around, so if anybody has any questions about that, myself or Melanie can probably provide that too, because it's still around and kicking. There is a halting group now, an appeal group. I'd hate to think that it's still thriving and growing, because that means that the sickness is probably thriving and growing as well. But the idea to make people aware of situations and making sure that people know that young stroke survivors can still grow. You know, you can learn how to drive. You can go back to work. You can do all these things being young and becoming, you know, a full-fledged survivor. These were the reasons that we did this. Selfishness of stroke survivors that actually need the help. So yeah, for those reasons we exist. These places still exist. So if anyone's interested, there is information available. Now, 2014, you know, everything has been great on our end, knock on wood. And that's about it. So the idea, same thing that they said, which is you need to have this determination. You have to have these goals. You have to meet these goals. If you truly want them, anybody can get there. Obviously, I'm not an Olympian, and I'm not able to do the things that they can, but my idea, my goal, my dream was being able to do the things that I was able to do before, and I've superseded them. I think that a lot of people have the ability to do it, may be afraid to do it, and you just can't be. You have to. You're your own advocate. Thank you.